We're very grateful to Steffi Höhl for preparing a list of top tips or advice for early career researchers. She had prepared this in advance and offered that we could share this with you. So I thought we could just go through this slowly but surely together as a group. And some of these points we've already touched upon today. You'll notice great ideas take a long time. It's more like a tour de force. This sounds a lot like resilience idea that we heard about today. It's going to be a long road, right? But she says that engaging in sustainable and reproducible science, especially open science, is worth it, even though the short-term incentives are skewed. She does, however, tell you to try to find a good life balance. She says it's good to be able to find joy in your family, friends, and other interests, and to value them. That being said, she also moderates this by saying that, and this is something we talked about in the session with Uta and Simone, is that marketing and self-promotion are not dirty words. You need to go and get out there. And so what we certainly need to think about as a group, as women in social neuroscience, is how to promote ourselves. And I know that Rochelle had a comment earlier about the balance between confidence and enthusiasm. How do we not seem overconfident when we're enthusiastic? So maybe, Rochelle, you can pick up on this point now.
For me, it's an interesting one because I get really enthusiastic about science, maybe too enthusiastic sometimes because, well, I think sometimes it can be a bit like, wow, but I really like this. But it's not necessarily confidence, just because I find the human body so amazing, the brain and what it does so amazing. I have been criticised, and it was by an older man a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me because he was like, "Oh, but you're too confident in this," and I was like, "I just enjoy what I do," and no, it's sometimes a difficult one like that, and I think it's changing more and more for women. Is that we can put ourselves out there more, and it's more acceptable to do that. However, I still feel it's not the same. I still feel that I couldn't be so confident about what I do because I don't want to be that confident because I criticize myself as well. I now openly give talks where I criticize my own work and say, hang on, science, it evolves. It's not written in stone. So yeah, I think it's a delicate balance. It's a difficult balance to have, but we can only try, really.
But I see the same trait in Ilanit, and I mean, some of us manage to be super calm. Uta has calm and cool and collected down to an art form, but I certainly find myself getting super excited and enthusiastic and speaking too quickly, and it's really hard. I'm always inspired by you, Rochelle. You always seem to have just that perfect tone of calm, steady.
Oh dear. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. No, do you know, there'll be some small comment, like I said, that happened nearly 20 years ago that still sticks with me, though. That's the problem. No, and I will be reflecting on this, like Antonia said, with children who don't sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, something that happened 20 years ago that still, you remember it, it still affects you, but you learn from it. And that's the thing. As long as you learn from these experiences, then that's positive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that one thing you mentioned there really hit a nerve. It's the idea that we carry these negative experiences with us far too long. That really resonates with me. And I'm going to reflect on that. It has nothing to do with a question or a follow-up, but that really, we have to let go of those and move on, which may be a good segue for point number 7, which is that you need to know which egg to drop when necessary. And I think she's talking more about collaborations or papers or ideas even, that paper that's been in the drawer for 10 years, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to publish it someday, but maybe you just have to move on and prioritize things differently. That being said, if you go back to her previous point that sometimes things take a while, maybe we need to just figure out which egg to drop when. It might be less appropriate, but then pick it up later. So do you have anything to say about that? Have you ever had an egg that you're holding on to unnecessarily, but that have needed to drop it?
Dear me, I have. And it's funny because I was thinking about that this morning. I have a paper that was from my PhD over 20 years ago that I still need to publish. And I was thinking about publishing it this morning, and that is exactly what you're talking about. When should I drop this egg? When should I drop it? It's written, it's been written for years. We submitted it, it got rejected, but then everyone was so busy that no one wanted to take it up. I keep on coming back to it, but the problem is I'm almost scared to let it go now. That's the problem.
Lucky egg. Maybe you shouldn't drop it.
Sorry?
Maybe it's a lucky egg. Maybe you shouldn't drop it.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to put it on bioarchive, I think.
Genius. I hadn't even thought about that.
Actually, that's a good point for what I do recommend to a lot of people now. If they do have these papers out there and they are kind of in a good state, they're kind of a finished paper, and you don't know what to do with it, you maybe don't think you can ever submit it to a journal, maybe because too long has passed, put it on bioarchive or OSF, something like this.
I have one of these papers from my first postdoc.
Yeah,
and
I have a number of them.
It was ready after baby number 2, and that's 3 babies ago. And it's on bioarchive, thank goodness, because people are actually, they're citing it. People are talking about it, and it upsets me terribly that we've never had it peer reviewed, but
it's okay. But it could be peer reviewed because it's out there. It's out there, and yeah. You know, is it really science if it's not accessible now? We've got to get it out there.
To Ilanet's question earlier about transparency, because I think this shows that there's stuff out there that hasn't quite crossed the finish line, but which has still been done in a thorough way. We just can't do everything, and maybe it stimulates future thought. Maybe it gets you to come up with another thing, and you're not wasting all that energy at 3 a.m. going, what about that paper? So I think that is amazing advice. I'm going to spend the weekend filling bioarchive with all my eggs.
Me too.
My unhatched eggs.
I think for younger researchers, it's important to know that bioarchives, psych archives, those things appear on your Google Scholar. So it shows that you are on things. It actually means that you're on your way to publish it. It's better than to keep it in a drawer, in my view, because you've already put so much energy in writing it. And you kind of, sometimes by doing these things, you force yourself to publish it. Maybe not right now, but in 2-3 weeks, 2 months, 1 year, it will be published. So I really encourage people to do that now. I think it's wonderful in any aspect.
I really like that. And I think I'm just going to share my screen one last time, because I would love to have both of your feedback on point number 8, which is where Steffi suggests that the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg still has value, despite people's various views about it. I think there's clearly a lot in there which is subjective, but she suggests that you have to lean in, you have to make yourself visible, you have to sit at the table. Secondly, you have to have a person who's by your side, have a partner who supports you. And today I'm giving a shout out to my husband, who has spent 4 hours in the car fetching kids because there is no transport, and making me tea, and just being generally a hero. So you have to have a partner in crime, whoever that is, friend, spouse, dog, it really doesn't matter. You just have to have somebody who helps you. And then the third point, which is where I'd like your feedback, is don't leave before you leave for maternity. And I know we've all 3 of us, now Siri's joined us, is in that boat, where you just don't know how you're going to juggle it all. You don't know, if you're going to be able to push through. And she suggests don't leave before maternity. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rochelle or Ilanit?
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. And I think, and especially with maternity leave, parental leave, it can be different every time, different every child, things like that. But like Merle says, having a supportive partner is just incredible. And like you say, I'm very, very lucky myself to be in a very good situation like that, a very supportive partner, and who is kind of happy for me, but who can cry with me as well. Just be there. But yeah, it's so difficult, because I think for me, I worked up literally right to the very end of my pregnancies, but it just depends on the person. You have to do whatever you feel happy with. And it was kind of highlighted recently. I was speaking to someone who is pregnant and kind of going through interviews, and it's just, you kind of shout out to her because, like, wow, it's really all these changes with your body, things like that, and you're still going. But because you want to as well, because you do like what you do. And if you don't like it, when I think that's been highlighted a number of times, when it's no longer fun, that's when you need to really think about what you're doing. As long as it's fun, well, it's great.
I like that idea of want. I don't know, Ilona, do you agree? As long as it's what you want, then it's fine. I think it's the problem when people feel pressured or guilty if they don't, I think is the issue.
Controversial what I'm going to say. So take it with caution. But I really think that in my experience, there was a reduction in productivity after I gave birth and after I got pregnant. And I prefer being honest about it than saying, no, I found ways that they traveled with me. I could never get them to travel with me. I was much less productive, but I think we are in a community that is creative. And I think even when you're less productive, there are ways to have a trade-off. There are times when you can be less productive and then you drop more eggs than you would want. And you can put your energy in sending a poster instead of giving the talk. You can do many things in science that are still important and know that it will come back. And I think if someone told me that, that gave me some ease. I don't know if I'm giving ease to someone who's listening to this, because sometimes thinking of being less productive gives more guilt and more anxiety. So that's why I had a disclaimer. But for me, that helped.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah. There are no words. Yes.
Yes. So this definitely is not the example for today, because today is so productive and so wonderful.